Hello and welcome to the Trans Agenda, a podcast by TransClinique. I'm your host, Nico, and I'm a trans man and my pronouns are he and they. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll be right here talking about the Trans Agenda. In this podcast, we'll delve into the unique challenges and experiences of trans folks, highlighting the voices of those who have lived it themselves. We'll explore issues such as navigating medical and legal systems, finding acceptance within family and community, and combating discrimination and violence. Our guests will share their personal stories and expertise, providing valuable insights and perspectives on this often misunderstood aspect of the human experience. Join us as we strive to educate, inform, and advocate for trans rights and visibility. Hello, and welcome to the Trans Agenda. My name is Nico Storman, and I'm your host.
I'm Alexis Petra MD, the founder and CEO of TransClinique.com.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about TransClinique, why you decided to found TransClinique, what is TransClinique?
Absolutely. So really it was just created out of need. I spoke to a lot of people in the community, a lot of my friends, and they're really having trouble getting access to quality healthcare. And, providers either didn't understand them or just outright refusing to treat them because they're, trans. So it was about the time, around August of 2019, something like that, when we really started to put everything together, with insurance and malpractice, trying to figure out the legalities of telemedicine at the time. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And then it was sort of a wild time and perfect storm almost in terms of telemedicine practice. So it just flourished from there because all the clinics were closed and things like that. And then we just kind of expanded into 26 states, in that 6-month period.
26 states?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was that process of expansion like?
It's just basically me collecting licenses and then trying to figure out, where's the most need, where's the most trans people. So you figure California, of course, New York, Chicago, Florida, Texas. Those kind of the most populated states. And within those states, like if you're in West Hollywood, San Francisco, generally you can get your needs met. But if you're in any kind of rural area, there's a lot of static and a lot of misinformation there. People are scared to go to the doctor. So telemedicine really fits that role.
Yeah. So how long have you been a doctor?
I don't want to date myself. But,
okay. Yeah.
But no, I'm teasing. But I graduated medical school in 2000. So I've been...
Is there a reason why you decided to be a doctor? Like, what inspired you?
It was just natural for me. Just kind of, I like math and science, and I also enjoyed helping people. It makes me feel good. I'm an empathic person, so.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So how did you realize that you were trans?
Oh, it's a good question.
Getting into it.
Yeah, that was, looking back on it, I could say it was, probably we all have similar experiences, but, somewhere around, early years, so 7, 10 years old, you kind of felt different. And certainly by the time I was 12, 13, I kind of knew I was very different. Mm-hmm. But at that, I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, kind of about a half hour north. And again, this is like early 80s. So, there wasn't much information access, therapists, certainly not hormones. So mm-hmm. It was, very difficult. So I kind of just sort of buried it and, just put it in the back of my head and focus on, school and sports and medical school. And it wasn't until I could actually shut my mind off of those other goals that I had to really deal with it. Mm-hmm. And then I started meeting other trans people, traveling to like LA and San Francisco and Long Beach, so, and I just started meeting other trans people and I was like, wow, this is my tribe, this is me,
mm-hmm. What was like the first trans person that you knew existed?
Probably, just on those awful TV series like,
okay.
Like talk show hosts, I forget the name of them, but
like Jerry
Springer
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was probably the very first actual trans person that was a friend. Her name was Alice, and she wrote a book called Alice in Genderland. I recommend it to anyone. It's still kind of relevant, but she lives in LA, and she kind of took me under her wing, and I used to kind of go to LA, dress, and she'd take me out to restaurants and trans clubs or just mainstream restaurants, and got my confidence up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of people are doctors, a lot of people are trans, but not everybody decides to start a telemedicine business. So how did that kind of come together? Like, what was the moment when you knew that you could do something to change the world?
Yeah, for me, it just kind of felt right. I started doing some little volunteer things like in 2017, 2018. I don't know if you recall, but in San Francisco and California, they had a push to people that were non-binary wanted to put NB on their licenses and things like that. So I had a friend that was a lawyer, trans, and she was like, hey, do you mind signing off, these birth certificates and IDs for people? And so I had like, in my apartment in Pacific Heights, like hundreds of people lined up to get signed up.
That's awesome.
So I was like, this feels good, giving back to the community. And so that's kind of when I started thinking about, what are ways that I could do to give back and help and stay involved and, more than just go to a trans club or something.
Well, so you started TransClinique. You've been doing this for, is it 3 years, 2 years now?
Yeah, 2020.
So what is like your 3 favorite things that have happened so far?
3 favorite things. Let's get, well, first of all, just getting it off the ground. Cause that was like, I never thought that would happen. Yeah. It was so many like touch and go. And then, you put it out there, you make this website, spend all this money, and you're like, okay, just waiting for customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sure enough, it happened. And then, have wonderful support with Sam and, the social media and really getting the name out there. And so far, one of the most favorite things, other than just, touching all these people's lives, and changing their lives. But we got an award from Matt Dorsey, the Supervisor 6, recently at the City Hall. So that was pretty amazing to be recognized by San Francisco for what we're doing. And we recently got an award from the Senator Gonzalez, California Senator Gonzalez. So we're going down to Long Beach to accept another award for what we've been doing. So it's really nice to be recognized for all the hard work.
That's amazing. Thanks. What is next for you and for TransClinique?
Well, I think we just want to keep getting the word out and keep getting bigger and just hopefully I can get a little help.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a one-woman show in terms of taking care of patients right now. But yeah, I think just keep expanding, keep getting the word out, and just keep providing good care. Like it's cool to be, kind of a boutique practice. I know there's other much larger companies that kind of do the same thing, but the one thing I say about us is patients text me, email me, I'm like available, and it's still a very personalized touch. I know everybody very well. I know them in and out, and so they know who they're dealing with. I knew.
How can people get connected up with you for care?
Best way really is just www.transclinique.com, and that's to sign up for an appointment and take appointment is the easiest way. And if there's any questions, you can always email Alexis Petra MD at transclinique.com if they have any questions before they want to sign up. Okay. Yeah. But essentially we can operate and get you the hormones pretty much if you're healthy the same day. Man could prescribe the same day, and it can have it either mailed to your house or just at your local pharmacy.
Okay. So when you're not being a doctor, what are you doing?
My favorite things is still pretty sporty. So I like to bike. I like to bike around San Francisco. It's a great place. Go over like Golden Gate Bridge and through Golden Gate Park and stuff like that. I played softball last night. It was really fun. Softball teams, co-ed. So I love to do that.
Sports, the language of the heart. What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself?
I think, first of all, I'm not sure if I could have done it like easier, like in terms of like I think about, if I transition younger, everybody thinks about that, but for me, I think that, just given the time and where people were with trans in the spotlight and stuff, there really wasn't much avenue. So I think the way I did it, I try not to beat myself up too much. So I'll give my younger self that advice. Just don't beat yourself up so hard about, have patience, and it's all going to work out. And I would say the same thing for, patience, and just, this is like a marathon, not a sprint. And, you really got to find yourself, and, it doesn't happen overnight. Just give it time and give yourself a break.
There's a lot going on in the country right now, and I think you have a very unique position as a practitioner for trans people. What's kind of your take on everything that's going on? What do you think is the next step and where we need to go in the U.S.?
Well, it's nasty, and it's just the politics of, I think most of the people that, there's some true right-wing religious people that truly believe that trans people don't exist or shouldn't exist, and it's hard to change those hearts and minds. But I think a lot of people, it's just to gain votes, and we have an important election coming up, so certainly I'd recommend everyone to vote to try to stop the spread of all this hate and politics of hate. But I think that cooler heads and science should prevail, and I think a lot of these bills are, they're getting looked at by higher courts and realizing that they're not. The American Medical Association is saying that, trans people do exist, and it is a thing, and, you can't deny people health care. So, I think hopefully, like in Florida and all these places that have banned some of these, trans care is going to be overturned.
Yeah, I've always thought there's a bit of a pendulum, right? It's like we got too much, and then now, there has to be but I do think it'll swing back for the better. So too.
And we're the easy target right now in terms of, if you want to get elected as a Republican, you have to say, I'm anti-abortion, I'm anti-trans. You have to, or else you won't get elected, right? So whether or not they believe that. So maybe once all that mess is over with, it'll get a little bit better.
Hope so. That's a very optimistic future view compared to some of our other interviews, so I do appreciate that. Yeah, I do. Is there anything else you want to share about TransClinique and yourself?
We're just friendly and welcome to all comers, and even if you're non-binary or not quite sure where you're at, we can work with you, and we have a lot of programs and a lot of resources. So I try to take people from A to Z, and meaning not only with the HRT, but also, just help people navigate, all the different surgeons, and there's all misinformation on Reddit. And so, I've been in the community a long time, and I know all the different surgeons and procedures and things like that. So I really try to help people just go to A to Z, and if people take advantage of that, I think it's really helpful.
Well, I do like to ask everybody, what is your trans agenda?
My trans agenda is just that we all live happy lives, and we all come together and don't fight amongst ourselves, number one. Don't fight amongst the LGBTQ community at large, because that happens too. And so that's my agenda, is just spread information and say, trans people exist, and we're not up to no good,
Right.
And
yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming by your podcast. It was a pleasure to finally be able to interview and sit down with you. So,
thank you very much. And thanks for all your hard work with these.
Oh, yeah, of course. Trans individuals face unique challenges every day, from accessing healthcare to navigating legal systems. It is crucial that we work towards creating a society that is inclusive and supportive of people of all gender identities. This means advocating for policies and practices that prioritize the health and well-being of trans individuals, as well as challenging discriminatory attitudes and behaviors where they exist. By coming together to support and uplift trans voices, we can create a brighter and more equitable future for everyone. Thank you for listening, and let us continue to work towards a world where trans individuals can thrive. Follow us on all social media platforms at TransClinique, and don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button.